Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'd like to call the February 2nd Complete Streets meeting to order. And we'll do roll call first, so if everybody can go around the table. I'm Kathy Cusman.
Brian Doherty.
Trisha Bergami.
Carla Dougal.
Lance Hunt.
Cynthia Holmes. And remotely, we have Tess and Jim and Bill Pfeiffer. Okay, and Laura. Right. Privilege of the floor. We have someone from the public that would like to address the group.
Sure. Yes, by the way, I'm Lance Hunt. I'm actually interested in joining the committee. If you do have open spots, I'd love to participate. I'm primarily here after my review of the Route 7 survey that was sent out by the town. I understand it was a complete street study. However, I was a little taken back by the fact that, trails were being evaluated as part of a Route 7 safety study. I thought that was a little deceiving to the town to kind of be evaluating those. I think they should be evaluated more transparently. I would hate for this Route 7 linkage study to go through and years down the line when they finally get funding to do it, that people will think that safety on Route 7 is tied to a trail behind my house. So I'd like to become more involved. I've got a background in transportation and I'd like to get involved.
Great.
And I'm also just seeking, where the study is currently at and if the results are available for the public to review.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's your address, please? 2383 Road. The trail would go right by my kid's treehouse,
Oh, I see.
which would be very detrimental.
Sure.
It's also ironic we're in the Paul Schaefer room. My house is a Paul Schaefer, and this trail would literally kill my wilderness view. So that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Not disgruntled, just here
Sure.
to be part of the conversation.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
And there's Bill. Hi, Bill. Can you hear us? No. You have to put your sound on. We can't hear you.
You're muted, Bill.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see everyone. And I'm sure you're going to welcome Cynthia as a new member to the committee. And maybe she'd like to give a brief introduction, letting us know a little bit about her background and her interest in complete streets.
Sure. I'm unprepared, but always willing. I've been retired from Capital Region BOCES, Health and Safety.
We use redeployed here, Cynthia. There's no retired. So
I'm redeployed. So about 6.5 years redeployed. And I do have more time. And something in my neighborhood in 2023 got me more interested in town, as it often does when it affects you directly. And when I realized all of your meetings are on YouTube, I became a fan. And with the Safe on 7 study, I live on Route 7. We've been there for over 32 years. So I have some firsthand experience and knowledge. And I, as a career civil servant, if there's anything I can do to lend a hand, I have opinions and my own observations, but I value the work of the committee. So I'm data-driven, research-driven. And if I can bring any of those tools to the committee, I look forward to that.
thank you. And thank you, Catherine, for chairing the meeting today while I'm away in sunny Florida, although it's 55 degrees and was about 30 last night, and the heat doesn't work in this place. They don't know what heat is down here. They've been under sun, so I'm wearing my fleece. So anyway, go ahead, Catherine.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the public who wants to speak to the group? I think we're good.
Bill Pfeiffer, I know you requested the login. If you do want to speak, you're going to have to unmute yourself.
Maybe Bill stepped away.
Yeah,
Do I need to get off or does Bill
No, no,
Pfeiffer?
you're fine. You're not interfering. He's just the mute symbol is like there's like a push pin, and then the mute symbol's in the middle, sort of like a microphone with a slash through it. If you just click that, you can unmute yourself. You can also email me your comments as well if you have some. Okay. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe Bill can chime in later on. So we'll go to the minutes, which is on the next item of the agenda. So there's quite a few minutes we have from September 15th, October 27th, and December 1st. Does anyone have any comments, or did you see any errors or omissions in the minutes?
I have some minor ones, but I can just leave those.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Any comments?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Bill.
On September 15, line 62, Ms. Robertson said that both Trustco banks on Balltown Road were looking to replace their ATMs. I mean, I know there's a Trustco at Balltown and State Street. Is there another Trustco on Balltown Road?
Yeah, Balltown and Knott Street.
Okay. Okay, thank you. You're right. I should know that. Then on the October 27, yeah, I'm okay on that. What's listed as the December 1 minutes, I think, say October 27. Does it say October 27 at the top?
Yes.
Yes.
So we need to fix that.
Yep.
And then October 27, line 66, school zones in the town of Niskuna. Ms. Healy confirmed for the committee that there was a school zone on Van Antwerp Road. Then on line 66, Chairman Chapman noted that the city of Albany and city of Schenectady used automated school zone. I mean, I'm not recommending those. I'm saying Chairman Chapman noted that the city of Albany and the city of Schenectady used, instead of suggested, noted the city of Albany and city of Schenectady used automated school zone speed enforcement cameras. And I'd like to insert that phrase if I could, unless someone wants to re-listen to the minutes and check that. But I'm not recommending speed cameras.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
can fix that, Bill. No problem. That's easy
Okay.
for us to fix. Yep.
Okay, please. And then over on line 85, it said, 84, Chairman Chapman discussed the streets on which he thought it would be beneficial to install crosswalks, period. And then it should say, he recommended reaching out to several land-owning entities on Hillside Avenue to ask that missing segments of the walk and bike path be completed, or missing segments of the walk and bike path on this road be completed. In other words, there are missing segments on Hillside Avenue, and so my recommendation was that we ask the property owners to complete their segment.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make that change.
And then on line 89, Ms. Robertson noted that the grant that she, and it should, instead of her, she and Chief Cochin. And then 91, Chairman Chapman discussed the concerns expressed by residents on Lock 7 Road. Yeah, discussed the concerns by residents.
Okay.
I mean,
got that one.
We haven't made progress yet. We just discussed concerns. And then finally on 94, Chairman Chapman suggested installing speed humps or platforms. I'm not a promoter of bumps anywhere, just speed humps.
For speed tables. Okay. Yep. Got
Yes,
it.
speed
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for those.
I think that's it with the minutes. Okay, so let's go ahead with acceptance of the minutes. All those in favor, please
Aye.
raise your hand.
I
Okay,
believe I abstain.
Yep.
Wait, did we have a motion and a second?
I move the minutes for September 15, October 27, and December 1 with amendments offered by committee members today.
okay.
Okay, second.
All right,
Um,
let's go.
Brian, you're gonna email us your comments because they're
Sure.
typos.
Give me the
Oh, you
first-
gave them to her? Okay. Okay. Good.
And all in favor?
Yeah.
Acceptance of the minutes, please, once again. Thank you.
Okay. We'll just move on to old business. The comp plan appendix, which Bill has been working on. I know I submitted some information on projects for Route 7 based on the safety study. Bill, did you want to add anything to that regarding the appendix, the comp plan appendix? How is that coming along?
Well, I think it's coming along well. I mean, at the last meeting, I did have a draft Excel spreadsheet that I shared with folks. And then the subcommittee on the comp plan, Catherine and Carla, and Jim Levy and I, we met on in January the 23rd. And I had kind of shared a little memo where I thought the bigger categories in our Excel spreadsheet would be, well, state roads, county roads, Niskuna schools, our town parks, and the town streets. And the state roads, I asked Catherine and Carla and Jim, really based on their work, and Brian Doherty, if he wants to suggest some items on Troy Road, that they could suggest items or go ahead and fill in the spreadsheet for Troy Road with ideas that the safety committee had suggested. And I mean, they're really recommendations. So we're talking about proposals. These are not things that we're committed to doing. I mean, so, you know, we'd fill those in, at least ones we feel confident about. Then Balltown Road, I, you know, provided some things, and Carla and I would going to take a look at Balltown Road if there's any more we want to add. And then State Street, we didn't really have much on State Street, but if there was something, I mean, I know we kind of talked about the sidewalks on State, that, you know, if there were smaller sidewalks that went down to Albany Street, that would be good. Then county roads, Laura had suggested at our last meeting that, you know, we should just put all the county roads in. And we have 18 county roads, and there are probably about 6 of them where we've discussed items in committee that we want things to happen, like Knott Street. We want the sidewalk to be finished from Baker down to Lexington, and Pierce Road. Denise Cashmere visited us, and there's a couple block segment that we wanted to do there. Console Road, Laura has discussed some items, hike and bike path or sidewalk on Console Road that we've recommended. Then Van Antwerp Road, we've been working on a recommendation with people on Crimson Oak Court for a sidewalk that would go from the traffic circle down to Van Antwerp. And we actually would like to see the county do a sidewalk all the way on Van Antwerp that would go from the traffic circle down to Balltown Road. And then Grand Boulevard, another county road. The county is working on some crosswalks there, and we do have the sidewalk coming up on Palmer Avenue. And so we had a longstanding request to do sidewalks on Grand Boulevard. And then Dean, Rosendale Road, long-term request on Rosendale Road to do the side path that would go to the schools. And then once, I'll fill those county roads in and then fill those projects in, kind of using the information that we have on the spreadsheet, which is kind of who owns the road, state, county, town, where is the location, what are we recommending happen, and then what we would see as positives. And then connections to Niskayuna schools, it's already in the Excel spreadsheet, so people could take a look at that. We've been kind of saying, what are some things on roads that would facilitate parents, getting their kids to school safely. And, a couple of new things there. We want the sidewalk on Cornelius Avenue and Birchwood, which we're going to talk about. And then town parks, I thought, like I did a section on the schools, a separate sections on parks, which would be, here's just some different recommendations we've thought on improvements to the roads that get people to our town parks, and, what we might recommend there. Like Hillside Avenue, if we get down to Banker and then, Banker Avenue goes down to the pool. Maybe we're not going to do painted bike lane on Banker or the road, but we might put the bicycle decals on Banker and on the entrance road to the town swimming pool.
So Bill, do you want some input from the rest of the group by a certain date?
Well, yes. In other words, in the next probably few days, I'm going to work on the spreadsheet to at least kind of fill out the categories of what we're looking for. And then, some ideas that I've already, kind of had on some things. I'll put in, that stuff. And then certainly the folks on the comp plan subdivision, I'd be expecting them to chip in. But really, other members of the committee, if they, want to make some recommendations to, actually, if they would forward them to me, I'll add them to the spreadsheet. So we kind of have one person
Sure.
keeping
So-
the sheet. And then,
Okay,
and then we go
so
from
by
there.
the end of next week, would you say by the end of next week, everyone should have their comments then?
Yeah, in 2 weeks, that would be really good. And,
You meant you were gonna
I
do the initial comments. Did you just send it to Bill or
I
did you?
just sent it to Bill. Wait, no, I sent you a copy.
I did not get
Yeah,
it.
we got,
7.
Okay, I
Did
didn't.
you-
I don't
see
think
that.
I got it. I'll look, but I'm not sure I got the comments.
I
from you.
think, Kath, I think you just sent that to two of us.
Yeah,
I thought it looked good. And Bill,
Right.
I'm working on your,
For some
I'm working
reason-
on your larger chart with some just minor tweaks and edits and things. And
Okay.
I think
that'd
there's
be
some
good.
places where you kind of said the same project twice, so I don't want to make it imply that we're doing it twice. So maybe we just need to
Yeah,
kind of put in
no.
some references and stuff. But
And
yeah, so
Jim
I'm
Levy
making,
had also recommended on the spreadsheet that we might add a column, and it's a priority column, meaning 3 categories or something like it's a, what did you say, Jim, that we might
just
consider?
a timeline column, just a general timeline column, like near term, middle term, or longer term. And we can define that if we want. Usually it's something like, within 5 years, 5 to 10, 10 plus, or maybe it's 5 to 15. Transportation projects can take a while sometimes. So it was just to give an idea of where we thought some of these stood in terms of, how long
So
they might take.
you said near term, middle term, long term, is that right?
Yeah, something to that effect. But we can come up with exactly what you want it to be. And there might be, I don't know, Laura, if there's other, if other sections of the comp plan are doing something similar, we'd want to make sure we're being consistent in that. But
Okay, yeah, we'll double check. We're doing an implementation plan, so we can make sure we use the same language. But for now, just use whatever makes the most sense to you.
yeah, again, just to kind of show where we think these things stand, that they're not all going to happen in the next, year or two, because they're not.
Right. Yeah, so Bill, I did send you my section on Route 7.
Okay, I'll
So
look
you-
for it.
Okay, yep.
I'll see
Yeah.
if I got it, a
Okay.
copy already. And, but I know people are working on things, and Laura, can I ask, well, what is the comp plan committee timeline for getting this appendix, and when the comp plan committee or the town board would like to have a public hearing on the comp plan.
Yeah, so we're looking at a draft of the complete streets chapter, I think by end of February, early March.
Okay. Okay. And can I ask, on the text itself, are you and Dart Strayer reading that and you're going to, I mean,
Yeah,
will
the
we
whole
have
committee
more
will
work
look at it.
on
I
our
am
committee to
still-
do, or are you going to go ahead and do it?
Well, the whole committee will look at it. I'm still trying to make sure I don't take anything out, but remove the duplications between the first and the third chapter, which I know you guys told me about. And then I had you write it anyway. And now I'm trying to remove the duplication. But in the end, it'll be the whole committee that looks at it, and then it'll go to public hearing.
Let me ask, are you going to ask the comp plan subcommittee to read one more time what you come up with as a revision to our chapter? Or,
That'd be fine.
or- okay,
Always.
okay. Jim and Catherine and Carla, I mean, I'm hopeful you're willing to read another chapter with Laura's input on there, and we can make one last pitch to save a sentence or two, or give a final blessing to something that we thought was gold, but is now going to be cast aside. So anyway,
We're
Okay.
not casting
we are
aside.
anxious to work
Not
on it
gonna
because we
leave
know you
anything
want
that's
to.
in there. I promise. We're not casting it aside.
Okay,
I'm just making the language consistent with the rest of the chapter.
okay. Thank you.
That's great. All right. So the next item on the agenda is safety on Route 7. Does anyone want to talk about some of the recommendations?
Okay, recommendations. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about the survey results or the recommendations.
I think the recommendations.
Okay.
But if you want to talk about the survey results, that's fine too. It's just, there's a lot there.
Okay, okay.
I'd like to hear some of it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I should preface that by saying that a lot of recommendations came out of the survey results. So anything that they recommended was highly, it got
Yeah.
positive reviews. So,
Check.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you attend any of the meetings, the two public meetings?
No, because I thought it was just about safety on Route 7, so I didn't go to it.
Oh.
And not that I was building trails all over the town. So no, I did not join.
Still watch it online, actually. It's still posted online. You can watch them.
Well, I did, and actually, I did review it, and actually, the trails weren't covered in the part that was initially spoke to, so I was a little confused by that as well. I did review all the slides and took the survey.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
That's because the trails are very low priority.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we like trail connections, but generally speaking, the study is about Route 7. If someday we can make trail connections, it would be a whole nother project with all the public review.
I know, and I don't remember the public, but yes, I've 15 years in engineering. I worked as a consulting firm. I know if something makes it into a study, it eventually gets built. And I just don't, when the funding happens 10 years from now, somebody will find the money and they'll make the trails happen because the thing is going to reduce accidents on Route 7. So I just want to trying to keep everything transparent. But yeah, no, I'd love to see the recommendations.
Okay, so just recommendations or just yeah,
Yeah.
Whatever
Those
you-
are the recommendations.
all right. Let's see. So so a draft of the Safe on 7 final report has been given to the Study Advisory Committee for review, and it will be presented and discussed at the final meeting tomorrow. The final report offers the recommendations for improvements on the corridor that were developed based on thorough existing condition analysis, technical evaluation, and public input. These recommendations include a continuous raised median with planned breaks throughout the corridor study area. The median break placement would adhere to option 2, which was favored by the public. As you recall, option 1 and 2 east of Pierce Road are the same. West of Pierce Road, option 1 focuses on neighborhood connectivity between Inman Road and Vrooman Road with 3 planned breaks at Inman, Mohegan, and Vrooman. Option 2, which the public favored and they have recommended, has 2 proposed breaks at Avon Crest Boulevard and Hickory Road, focusing on access to the hospital. So, at all median breaks, there would be full traffic signal control, including side street access and your U-turn capabilities, traffic signal coordination, stripe crosswalks, and countdown timers, as well as raised intersections. Also, transit stops will be relocated to align with the median breaks, and improvements will be made to these facilities. Other recommended improvements along the road include a multi-use path on the south side of Route 7, curb extensions at side streets, install and improve existing lighting throughout the corridor, pursue trail connections to the Route 7 corridor, and consider LPIs in the future after the first set of geometric changes are implemented and evaluated. And recommendations for further study, they recommend establishing a gateway at the interchange between the Route 7 extension and Route 7. And after a geometric or architectural changes have been made to slow traffic, they want to evaluate and consider reducing speed limit. In the final report, they also discussed implementation. I don't know if you want me to talk about that too.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay. So the final report addressed how to implement the design changes with a phased approach broken down into 3 categories of immediate, short-term, and long-term actions. This allows the town to address critical safety needs while planning for more improvements that will be delivered over time as resources become available. In the immediate phase, DOT is looking to address a portion of the study area from Mohegan Road to St. David's Lane, which has been a highly problematic area lately. They will, and basically the design changes that they're proposing for this immediate phase are consistent with the recommendations in the Safe on 7 report. These include the installation of a raised median, traffic calming measures, evaluation of lane configurations and pavement markings, and use of signage and roadway treatments. Also, a temporary traffic signal demonstration project is planned at the immediate level. In alignment with option 2, there would be a temporary signal control at Hickory Road, I believe, to support safer left turn movements, improve pedestrian and bicycle crossings, and calm traffic. It would be in place for about 6 to 12 months. The demonstration project will also involve collecting data, which will evaluate the effectiveness of these concepts.
Carla, can I just jump in really quick? That's actually not planned. It's recommended. So there isn't any funding for it. It's just, it's recommended in the short term.
Okay.
Actually, there isn't any funding for any of it, except that the DOT is adding funding to its project, but everything else is just a recommendation at this point.
Okay. So the short-term recommendations are an extension of DOT raised median through the eastern section of the corridor, side path on the south side, installation and coordination of new traffic signals at median breaks, signal timing improvements to support coordinated traffic flow, curb extensions on side streets, relocation, enhancement of transit stops, and improved lighting. In the long term, they recommend developing north-south trail connections at Inman Road and Douglas Court. And they're evaluating, in the long term, they'll also evaluate and implement a speed limit reduction. But that's, I think, based on what happens with the structural changes. And they're also, they have a section on costs and funding where they laid out the costs for each phase and identified funding opportunities.
Thank you. Yeah, again, this is just a draft. So we're having another meeting tomorrow with the whole committee. And there probably will be some changes to that draft. And then I would imagine the final draft that's open to the public may go out 2 to 3 weeks, Laura. I mean,
I mean, yeah,
Maybe.
I think they're planning on wrapping the study up by March. In March,
okay.
they're doing a presentation to the transportation
Transportation Committee?
Or the study advisory committee
Yeah, could be.
or transport, is there one?
No,
for
the Transportation Council, the
Okay,
Capital
oh, the
District
council.
Transportation.
Okay. So sometime in February then we may, okay, end of February. That's great. I think that's about it. Jim, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? The study?
No, sorry, my computer crashed. So I missed a little bit of it, but no, sounded
Okay.
thorough to me.
Yeah,
Just to add a little, the DOT project part of it, which really has been outside the linkage study, but the linkage study started, and then DOT agreed that in front of Bellevue definitely needed traffic calming, so they started their own engineering process. They are likely going to do broken medians, so they're going to sort of implement things that are traffic calming and don't preclude, what the linkage study is recommending in the future, but they probably won't implement a full link, like the full cross section of the linkage study corridor at in front of Bellevue to begin with. Yeah,
Say that again, Laura. They won't recommend what?
they're looking right now at broken medians in the Bellevue corridor area. What they do won't preclude the full cross section that's being recommended by the linkage study. Like,
Okay.
it's sort of like a first step towards that full cross section, but they are probably not going to build, an unbroken median with a multi-use path. They're gonna start with smaller steps, and then maybe in the future build up to what the linkage study is recommending. And they have asked to come to the next Complete Streets Committee meeting in February to have you guys take a look at what their plans are.
okay.
But
So
everything, go
Are-
ahead.
are they like just in the conceptual stage, or are they doing preliminary engineering? Where are they right now?
I'd say they're right in between conceptual. They're kind of crossing between conceptual and preliminary engineering now.
Great, good.
Will they be,
So, and I mean, I do think that they're trying to do that on an accelerated timeline because of the safety issues in that on that section. So I do think that we will see that out there. It's important for people to understand that that's kind of different than the linkage study, but it's complementary. It doesn't go as far as the linkage study goes, but it's not going to preclude, those things. But like Carla had said, like doing a demonstration project of the traffic lights and stuff to show that that could work. That right now it doesn't have any funding or grant funding or anything like that, but that would probably be another step forward to getting the linkage study implemented. So, so we can talk about that more. I think it's important right now to kind of focus on the linkage study and what's happening, but I just want to make sure that we're kind of making sure that we know, okay, DOT is doing their project. It's part of the beginning implementations of the linkage study, but it's just a beginning.
will DOT be at the meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, they'll be there. Yep, a bunch of them will be there.
Good.
But again, they're commenting on the linkage study. They don't mind sharing what their plans are for in front of Bellevue. And I think it is important to understand that that's a beginning. That's an immediate kind of like, let's get out there with a smaller budget and do things that are traffic calming. And like, it doesn't preclude the linkage study, but it is kind of separated from it.
Laura, when will Route 7 be repaved? Like when is it? due?
Yeah, they're actually building their project into their repaving schedule. I think that's part of the reason it's more on accelerated timelines. I mean, I think we'd be looking at about 2 years.
Oh, that's just for the immediate or the DOT section?
Correct. Yeah.
Laura, can I ask, with the Bellevue project that DOT is looking at, is that something that could be done sooner or quicker than the steps in the linkage study that will go all the way up and down Troy Road in Niskuna?
Yeah, it is. That's essentially what it is. It's a first step that's being done quicker. Like it's going to take some of the recommendations from the linkage study, and they're going to do what they can with a much smaller budget. And then in the meantime, we can use grant funding to see if we can continue. Like, I know I want to try and apply for the transportation assistance program from between, I think, like Mohegan and Avon Crest or somewhere in there. So we can try to do it along other blocks too. Yeah, it'll just be like, I mean, Carla didn't say it. I mean, they're talking $68 million and that's this year. So if it takes 15 to 30 years to implement, I mean, there's nothing out there where you can get $68 million. You're literally just going to be doing little bits and pieces here and there to try and create a vision. This is the vision that guides you, but you're going to do little bits and pieces to try and slowly build the safer corridor.
Now, is the little bits and pieces though in front of Bellevue where, we've had fatal accidents and Senator Smollen's son passed away and another woman, is the state DOT, I mean, would it be dependent on grants, or are they actually saying, no, we want to get some of these improvements done quicker? We want to find some money out of the state budget to get started on that much sooner than a 30-year model.
Yeah,
that
that
would be 2
they're
years.
using state money much sooner. It's not grant funded. It's out of their regular operating budget.
And what they do is, at least some of the steps that they do would still be consistent with things recommended in the linkage study, so that
Absolutely.
if
Yeah,
it
they're
takes
talking
us-
about broken medians, narrowing lanes. A lot of the stuff will be similar. We met with them to make sure that if we ended up getting some money to do the full sort of cross section, that it wouldn't interfere, and it will not. So they're gonna do kind of like, if the first step was to put medians, they're doing like step 0.5. They'll get us part of the way there, and they're really optimistic about it because they have seen good results with traffic calming with what they want to implement, and they did take the linkage study into account when they were looking at what they want to do. So it doesn't go as far as the linkage study recommends, which I'd love to see, but the costs it's just going to be a chipping away thing because of the costs.
Just one more. Will our Complete Streets Committee or the Niskuna Town Board, is there a point where we'll be making recommendations on this, or are the recommendations from the town sort of already built in by Brian and Carla and Catherine and Jim Levy and you going to the meeting, as well as some other town officials, and that's where our input would be registered with the Labella Group and with the linkage study folks? And or will the full Safe 17 report go to the town board for them to recommend a modification here or there? Or
Yeah, it's a federal highways grant that's administered by the Capital District Transportation Council, right? So we've done like a lot of public outreach, and I understand that not everyone agrees with everything in that plan, but if you go through the appendices, I think everything that's recommended at least has meets good planning principles and was supported by more than half, in most cases 70 to 80% of the people that we talked to, and we had really good response rates on the survey and on the in-person meetings. So that's where those recommendations are coming from. And I would hope that the town board adopts it, and certainly they're open still to comments, but it isn't going to be like a comprehensive plan where we do a public hearing and then we make a bunch of changes. Like, this public outreach was done prior to the plan being implemented. So I think, after we have the study advisory committee and we make sure that it's really in it's, it's been reviewed by everybody who's been working on it all along. Yeah, the drafts would go public, everybody could read them, but I don't expect, if there's something in there that riles people up, that the plan is going to be changed, because it's a regional plan that has been prepared over the course of a year and a half. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
And just lastly, is DOT the final arbiter on what's going to be done?
Always, they're the owner of the road. Absolutely. We have absolutely no ability to do anything there without their say.
Okay.
Two, couple comments. I know I'm not on the committee. Is there if I talk or no?
It's up to the chairwoman.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Will the survey results be made available? All the survey results?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
'cause my
we'll be there.
my only comment is basically the recommendations, they recommended everything in the survey. And I want to see what criteria was used to make those recommendations. I know
Yeah.
Laura did speak to the 70-80%. I would like to see if that's actually true, just to validate it.
Most
Then-
of them. I think that I think there was a fair amount of people towards the end of the survey who got on and didn't support the trail connection that you're not in favor of. But I believe it's still more than 50%. I think it's close to 60% of people support that trail.
Yeah, because it just seems like it's almost like it just decided the phasing approach rather than recommendation of true alternatives, which I also think would help your budget. If you got a budget at 68 million, figure out what actually needs to be done for the town and bring that budget down. And you can get that work done quicker and actually save lives on Route 7 more efficiently.
Yeah, 100%. The trails on all cases, and this will be released with it's all in the appendix, are low priority, and it's a complete street study. So the focus is primarily safety, and the town is going after redoing the lanes on Route 7. That's the primary, but ways of making connections, complete streets connections, for a long-term study, that's fairly normal. And those are all long-term goals. They're not things that the town would be going after immediately. The town's going after the safety stuff immediately.
I'd like to ask a question, and I know I'm focused on the bike path that they're going to put on Route 7 or proposed.
It's recommended. Yeah.
And
I think
I have a broader view. It's just, I've been to a few for public comment, so I can't hide that. Is there any other way? I just think because it's not a focus of the linkage study, my concern is safety driven we have sidewalks, we have connectivity. The town doesn't have a sign that says bicycles cannot be on the sidewalk, which means legally bicycles can be. I'm just concerned with the more research I do that I haven't shared here. Just on my side of the road, the south side, from St. David to the Latham border, down by Bly and Rosendale, there are over 80 driveways and about 20 side streets. So there are over 100 potential conflict points. And when you have a bike path and you have a road, then you see a little stop sign like on River Road for the bicyclist. I just don't see how and I know you're calling it a shared path, it's called multi-use path.
Multi-use, yeah.
But a bike path's a bike path. I mean, multi-use is a multi-use. It's what we have along the river. Will there be a time to look at that through a safety lens? Because it is different. And
yes,
we do have sidewalks, and maybe this will be an aside that I'll share with Bill and Laura, but just the way DOT handled all the snow from last Monday was like I had never seen before living there this long. They usually come with 2 vehicles. They have a vehicle that picks up the snow and throws it into, say, like a big dump truck, and they carry it away. But this time DOT plowed that section. Well, you know, because then you had to send the sidewalk machines out again. And right around 4 or 5 o'clock, rush hour, the end of our driveways were covered with boulders of snow because this was Wednesday. And then, yes, I'm grateful the town sidewalk machines came in Thursday morning and they were cleared again. But I actually went out and cleared my neighbor's driveway because there's no way her husband could have safely turned into his driveway. So I don't know if that's continuing. I don't know if that's new, but then you add a sidewalk and a bike path. That's just more and more clearing that us residents, as we age and place, have to keep. Like, I clear after every vehicle goes by, every time the town machine goes by, every time DOT trucks go by. But I've never seen them just dump it all on the sidewalks. And then they're going to be on your shared
It didn't
path.
even seem like it was that much snow this year, but yeah, I'm sorry for that. Those are very valid concerns, and I hear them. And like, I want to make sure that the committee understands that this is a conceptual study. It's a long-term conceptual study for, you know, treatments that can make Route 7 safer. It is not an engineering study, and it is not. And the construction isn't funded, right? So there is a piece that the DOT is doing on its own that won't preclude, you know, us continuing to move forward on this study. But when bits and pieces are going to happen, they will be engineered. They will look at those concerns much more deeply, and they would each have their own public hearing as an actual, like, DOT wants to do, you know, an open house on their project. Like, if you were actually going to take projects and build projects, you know, from this study, each one of those actually funded, engineered, constructible pieces of this study would have a much more thorough vetting, you know, as it moved forward. That's why I'm not downplaying that there's a lot of, you know, still, you know, things that not everyone is on board with, but conceptually, with all of the public outreach and all the survey and all of the, you know, the planning concepts that were proposed, conceptually, these are the recommendations. The actual functional way that they would be created and designed and engineered are going to be many different things, like DOT projects, maybe town grants, maybe, and all of those are going to have their much more deeper dive into what, you know, what actual consequences would be to this property and that property, and where would it go, and how would you buffer, and what can you do to mitigate? Does it even make sense to put it here? Like, in the end, when they're actually doing engineering, that's where the pavement, you know, sort of the rubber meets the road there.
Thank you. That just helps as a newbie, you know, just to see that. And I, you know, of the community who may not know all the details.
I mean, I guess you have to look at it. The study is just an initial planning document.
Right.
Mhm.
That doesn't, and they make recommendations. That doesn't mean that any of those are going to happen. Because they still have to go through a long, lengthy process.
And now knowing that's helpful. And it doesn't mean that it still won't happen. And I understand that.
Mhm.
But thank you for sharing that each one has its more detailed look and public hearing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would think of it kind of like a comprehensive plan for Route 7, right? I mean, the comprehensive plan for Niskayuna has, you know, hundreds of recommendations. They guide the town, but each individual thing that happens still has to go through all the permit processes, still has to go through all the subdivision. Like, just because it's in a plan doesn't mean it can materialize. It would have to actually go through the process to materialize. This is the big, large concept. And then when you actually come down and you say, okay, DOT is going to go in front of Bellevue. What are they going to do? You know, they're actually not going to put a multi-use path in because they don't have the money to do that right now. You know, so you know, and they'll do their own outreach and they'll do their own engineering and they'll do their own figuring. in the context of, okay, here's the greater comprehensive plan that we're looking at. But the individual projects, like they're going to be, they're going to try, right? But not always get there. And there's plenty of things in our comprehensive plan that, we'd love to see, but probably maybe 40 or 50 years from now, we could still be talking about them. So, I mean, it's important to just understand where that plan is coming from versus where the actual building and construction and engineering would be coming from.
That's helpful. Thank you.
My last comment.
Okay.
So it is called a Route 7 safety study, correct?
Right.
And Laura just spoke and said that these alternatives will improve safety. Does this final report document how each of these alternatives make Route 7 safer and reduce fatalities? Will I be able to read this report and get that from this? Will it explain to me why the Inman Road trail option, the Inman Trail option, will save lives on Route 7? Will I get that from this study? Is what I asked the committee. I just feel like you guys have maybe drifted a little too far out of scope. We're talking about streetscape and we're talking about adding lights, trails.
Yeah, so we can certainly pass that comment on. I can send an email to Jesse to pass that comment on. But the study is called, its actual name is called Safe on 7, but it was funded as a complete streets study. So a complete streets study is going to consider making a corridor safer for all modes of transportation. And connectivity is an important part of complete streets, lighting, pedestrian scale lighting, getting people. So right now, if it's not safe for them to be walking around along Route 7, how do you get them to those destinations safely? So complete streets is what was actually funded. The name Safe on 7 is because that's really the goal, but it's a complete street study but I'm happy to send that comment on to the consultant as well. I heard it.
And as a footnote to that, Bill, I mean, I've noted a lot of county and state and even town highway budgets. People think about cars, but there are people that ride bikes and people that walk that pay their taxes too and want to be able to access roads safely and get to school safely, get to parks safely, get around the town safely. And when you're spending money, it's nice if we're concerned about accidents with cars, but we're also concerned about safe transportation of these other modalities like bikers and pedestrians. And, just a little example, when Joel Bezoin was doing the apartments across from Blatnick Road, he's building houses there and we needed to get a push button crosswalk that would get people on the hike and bike path over to Blatnick Park by using a push button crosswalk. And so we asked him as Complete Streets to extend the bike path and put the crosswalk right there. So we didn't have money to do that, but he's building a housing project there. And so our goal was to, make an improvement that would help walkability in the town. And he did that. So we're, trying to look at all of the modes of getting around. And certainly, focusing on the fatalities that have happened on Route 7 and other things that, safety is the number one concern. But, where you're going to do construction in that thing, if there's a chance to do something much less expensively while you've got construction equipment there that will help pedestrians and bicyclists, we'd like to be able to do that too. And so that's why they're in there a little bit. Thank you.
All right. I think we'll move on to the sidewalk projects, Birchwood and Cornelius Design. Laura, you're going to have to fill us in on what's the latest on those.
Do you think Bill had
Okay. Bill Pfeiffer did raise his hand. Do we want to just give him a minute? Do you want to try speaking, Bill? You're muted. You're still muted.
Yeah.
Bill?
Bill, we can't hear you. Can you unmute?
They're talking to another guy by the name of Bill.
There you go. You got it.
Hi, guys. Thank you for letting me join in. And I'm no longer driving, so I feel safer participating. Can somebody help me understand why a reduction in speed limits is not among one of our top asks for this project? I'm sure it's been discussed and there's an obvious answer, but I just haven't heard it addressed this afternoon. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can jump in if you want to. So the reduction in speed limit is actually recommended at the end because reducing the speed limit without physically changing the corridor and making drivers just naturally drive slower, it's kind of an artificial way of reducing speed limits. It requires a lot of extra manpower and constant attention. Even if you do, what our police department does, which is like literally have a car out there like every other day or as many days in a row as they possibly can. The minute that there isn't a car out there, the cars are naturally driving faster. So the goal is to put the medians in and narrow the lanes and add street trees, that vertical sort of displacement of things so that cars are feeling more constricted. Like right now when they're driving down, there's not that much difference except that it's lined with houses between the 5 lanes on Route 7 and a restricted access highway like the Northway or something. I mean, it was a little different, but not that different. It's very, very open. So the goal would be to reduce that so that if you put a speed monitoring device out there, the cars are going to drive slower. So they installed medians in Lake George before, let's say, I mean, I'm sure they always have police enforcement too, but cars were naturally driving at about 35 or 40 miles an hour. And then they put those medians in without any extra enforcement. Cars started driving 10 miles less, 30 miles an hour. So what they're saying is put that infrastructure in and then monitor the speed limit and lower it. But you wouldn't do the speed limit first. You're going to put the infrastructure in and then do the speed limit, if that makes sense.
Right, because the width of the road right now, people are very comfortable driving faster. And with the change that they're recommending, right, word,
Absolutely. Yeah.
would be to move the curbs in, narrow the lanes, and make it feel a little tighter. And then that way, that will drop the speed.
I appreciate your response. I'm not an engineer. I don't have a background in this area, but sadly, it's still I hear what you're saying. It's still I remain unconvinced. But again, I'm new to discussion, and I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole this afternoon. Thank you for letting me sit in.
Thank you, Bill.
And April raised her hand now too. Is it okay, April? Want to pop in?
Hello, hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
I signed in a little bit late, but I think I caught the general gist. We're looking at bike paths on Route 7. I just, I've commented a couple times that I live on Rosendale Road and how much of a concern it is for people on Rosendale Road because of the difficulties that we're seeing now. And even, I was very happy to hear Aaron make mention that Consall Road and Rosendale Road are probably the 2 most dangerous roads in our town. So I do really think that you need to think about what you're doing on Route 7 and how it impacts people, not just the residents on Route 7, but the residents who are going to be impacted on Rosendale Road. To me, I'll just this morning, actually, I was on Route 7. There was an officer pulled to the side. There was a car speeding down the middle turn lane, going probably, I don't know, well over 60, passing everybody who was actually, following the speed limit. And I was very discouraged to see that the officer didn't pursue this individual, maybe didn't see it, I don't know. But to add bikes to that, the idea is to save lives, right? Isn't that what the purpose of this was? And instead, we're off on this tangent, spending money, and it's going to end up putting people in harm's way. It's going to end up impacting residents. That's just my 2 cents on it. But, certainly people who this is our home, and you're hearing it from a lot of people, don't want this. So I would hope that the town would consider that. Thank you.
I think that's it for comments. Yeah. So Laura, you want to go ahead and talk about the sidewalk projects? And what
Yeah.
schedule is for that?
Yeah, so with the sort of announcement that the town got the grant from DEC to build the sidewalks on Cornelius and Birchwood, there was a fair number of residents, mostly from Birchwood, that reached out and, you know, wanted to see what the status was and wanted to have the nighttime meetings. And I am still very much in favor of doing that, but unfortunately I tore my MCL and my ACL and I will be going in for surgery and be out of commission for quite a while. So I was originally planning on talking to them on doing the nighttime meetings where we sit with them and we look at their individual properties together in February. But I think honestly, we might have to move it to April. Like if there's a way to not do that, I am willing to look at it, but I think that's probably what it's going to end up being because unfortunately my surgery is scheduled for February 19th and I don't mind reaching out to them and letting them know what's going on. But I think it'll still time-wise be fine. My main goal is to have everybody look at the plans that, you know, has a sidewalk proposed to their property and really just sit with us and see what it means and talk through, you know, what their fears and what they like and what they don't like. That's the main goal.
I
Sorry to-
agree with that. It's important for Laura to be there, and if we do this in April, we'll be fine. And as Jim Levy has pointed out to me, that I mean, this isn't a public meeting on whether we're going to do this. The town board has endorsed applying for this grant money. We've been given the award. We don't want grant funding agencies to think that haven't made up our minds as a community whether it's important. It is important. We do want to talk to residents and have a public meeting. We want to get their input on things that important to them so that when we go out to bid, we're more comfortable that we have something that we want to go to bid on and engineers bid on the project. And you know, if there are residents that say, I've got a beautiful tree, I want to hold on to it, I'm happy moving the sidewalk between the tree and my front step or other modifications they'd like to see. We want to get that input from residents and then put out design documents that contractors would bid on so we can move forward on it. And just an additional footnote to that, we did ask in the design for a speed hump or a speed platform on Birchwood Lane, and Jim Levy did send us some examples of speed dips and what he calls a transverse rumble strip. And I'd like to ask the board Complete Streets members to take a look at that to see. I mean, I know our highway superintendent and some members of the town board have been reluctant about speed bumps, but these other options, you know, might be something that could work, like a speed dip that would slow traffic. That is already a complaint now on Birchwood Lane, and would be something that you could live with a snow plow that wouldn't do damage to a snow plow. And so we'd like to look at those and be advocates for, if we think they would make sense, to put one on one side of the crosswalk in front of Birchwood Elementary and then maybe one on the Colony side. And if they work, it would be an example that we might use on other roads, say Lock 7 Road or other examples in the town. So I would like to ask people to look at them. And but other than that, you know, we did get the grant money, and so we want to move forward on this project in a timely manner.
Bill, the thought of the speed hump, they'd be placed closer to the school, not on the incline of Birchwood.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you.
Like the plan right now only has one that's coming in from, because like we heard from, you know, people that live on that corridor that it seems like people who are coming from Albany County are driving in faster. That road seems to be a little more, I don't know, fast when it's coming in from Albany. But Brian's comment was, well, maybe we should have one in either direction because it's letting you know that the school entrance is there. So they were looking at adding a second one to it right by the school area.
And what about one further down the hill? Because I mean, when they leave, if they're coming in from Colony and they stop at the stop sign at the school entrance, then from there down to Route 7, you get a pretty steep hill there. And I think that may be part of the area where they're complaining about the speeds too. I mean,
They are.
They do have to stop at the school, but I think between the school and 7, I think we should consider one in that area too.
So I don't have transportation road experience. I just know inclines in the winter, it's hard enough to navigate. And I don't even know what year it was, but the going down that hill at Birchwood toward Route 7, I was probably 5 back at the red light. And I left a lot of room between me, but it was a really snowy commuter time. And the person coming down the hill didn't stop. They used my car to stop. And even though I left quite a bit of distance, pushed me all the way down the hill into the car in front of me, which is why I personally, like, there may be another spot, but think of winter time. And if someone has, I know there's people here who have DOT knowledge. I don't know the slope pitch, but in winter weather, that incline, I don't know if that slows people down in the ice and snow. So maybe it would be good. I just can't imagine then being pushed over a speed hump at that point, or if that would become, is it part of the solution or part of the, pardon?
Would that help to stop you a little bit?
Well,
And that would be an engineer-based decision.
Exactly.
Right?
I think we received a certain amount of money for these 2 projects and engineering has been done. So that would be something we could do in the future. I mean,
Correct.
if I decided to look at it. So with this project, it won't happen, but perhaps down the future, they
Sure.
would definitely look at it.
it's just a piece with the winter weather that we have. If there's data that says it actually decreases that, I think that would help support it. But
Yeah. Well, and the idea would be we don't actually have speed humps and speed tables in Niskayuna yet. So we're probably only going to put up 1 or possibly 2 so that it's symmetrical, sort of going to the school, and then test them and see how they work. Because they do work good in other communities. We don't have any yet. So, we probably wouldn't install a whole lot until we really sort of figure them out.
Any more comments on that? I don't think so. So next item is the e-bike discussion. I think Bill has pointed out that the town is looking for us in terms of they want some recommendations as to how to handle e-bikes in Niskayuna. There is the New York State Association for MPOs in New York State has put out a fact sheet on electric assist bicycles. I think this went around before, so that's when I got it. But they do point out all the existing New York State laws and regulations, which at the present we're not enforcing because most people aren't aware of them. So I guess what they're looking from us, that the town is looking at from us recommendations as to, how to go about enforcing this and how do we educate the public. I know Jim had some really excellent ideas. I don't know if Jim's still with us.
He wasn't going to be in a meeting.
Okay. Oh, okay. So Jim has another meeting that he had to go to. But we briefly discussed this the other day because presently, we have all these New York State laws, but we're not enforcing the laws as they exist now. So prior to coming up with a whole new set of laws, we probably should focus on this. And Jim had some really good ideas in terms of how to enforce this and just more of an information and outreach approach that we could take. If anybody has any other thoughts on this, would be.
I could just share a little bit. I mean,
Right.
Jim shared some thoughts with Catherine and Carla and I, and we thought really, rather than the town maybe working hard on an ordinance, that there are other things that can be done without having other communities to step forward, or that a lot of folks don't know, well, what's allowed by state law now? What's legal in the town in terms of being able to ride a bike on a sidewalk, or what age, or what kinds of things are kind of misuse of an e-bike that we don't want to see. And there are other things in the publication which I hope got handed out at the meeting, but and I guess in terms of information, I did share the article that a lot of parents, like a lot of members of Complete Streets, may not be aware of the kind of dramatic increase in accidents, the severity of accidents on e-bikes, bikes with a motor compared to just regular bicycles. And, that certainly may change the equation by parents on who gets to ride a bike, or are parents willing to spend money on a bike. And that kind of what Catherine had mentioned, that we in the community, teachers, parents, the police department, all of us need to be more conversant with, well, what's allowed by the law now, but what are some hazards that are out there now that we'd want to be aware of, that would give us more grounds to regulate e-bikes, or to say, let's step forward to at least enforce the regulations that the state has already provided, and that rather than waiting around for the town to do a new ordinance, that we can maybe do a public information meeting on, what are some of the injury risks with e-bikes now? What are the current regulations in New York State? What's allowed? And then, even if we had an e-bike subcommittee to think about some things like, well, what do we want to ask the police department to do? Or what do we want to ask the school to work on teaching safety on e-bikes in a PE class? Or, those kinds of things. Then it could be we could make as much progress in terms of legal and safe use of e-bikes just by a public information campaign where we reach out to parents and folks in the town. And, we thought that would be a good place to maybe get started. And certainly Maddie Hanna is a student representative. And so we just, do more groundwork. So if somebody said, hey, Bill, what's allowed by New York State law on e-bikes? Well, I should be able to spit that out, right away. Anyone on the committee should be. And then, this article that, we've circulated that was in the New York Times, kind of what I consider sobering information, that e-bikes are, they get up to speed quick, and they're heavier. And, maybe someone is allowed to ride one at age 16, but he's got a younger brother that's 14 and another younger brother younger than that that's 12 that wants to borrow the bike or wants to ride on the back of the bike without wearing a helmet. And so you get serious injuries, and we know that. And so I just think the town police department, the town board, the town Complete Streets Committee, we can't sit on our hands, really. We know information now that we really need to be stepping forward to do something. And so we need to take a look at some of these things. And so we should do that, I guess. So that's kind of our thought.
Right. Yeah. You gave us that article from the New York Times magazine, and they had some ideas in there, like mandatory licensing, registration, insurance as well. And also, what is, in New York City, all 3 classes of e-bikes are allowed, but up here in this area, what are the?
Because it has to be over a population of 1 million. So
Okay.
New York City is the only one that qualifies for that.
Okay.
So they're allowed down there, but they're not allowed here, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Um,
But class 1, which is pedal assist up to 20 miles.
Right,
is
and
allowed
class 2.
on a sidewalk.
Right.
and where most-
well, the municipalities can prohibit it.
Okay.
So it's really up to Niskiuna if they want to allow them. on our sidewalks and shared use paths. So, you know, municipalities have a lot of leeway. They can enact regulations that go beyond what New York State says. So I guess that's up to us. We have to decide whether or not, as a community, whether we want to have e-bikes on our sidewalks and shared use paths. I hate to prohibit that because there's a lot, you know, there's some seniors, they want to be able to go on the bike paths and they can't bike anymore. So they need that assistant going up hills. I mean, those are the type of things we have to consider.
Now, class 2 and class 3 are not allowed, are they allowed in the road even? Like the,
There is,
class 2 is with the
e-bike.
throttle and.
Yeah, it says e-bikes and e-scooters can be ridden on streets with a posted speed limit of 30 miles or less. So that's it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. You know, but I think it's important that, you know, the law enforcement and Ms. Fiona is aware of these regulations. So I think it's important that we educate them first and then, you know, decide from there whether or not we need to start enacting additional regulations as a community. I don't know how you feel about that, Tess. You're a bike rider, so if you see a lot of e-bikes out there.
What do I feel about the e-bikes, or what do you mean?
Do you see a lot of e-bikes out there right now in the town of Niskayuna? And are they pretty much abiding by, you know, the rules of the road like regular bikers?
Yes, I was just gonna go look up whether, maybe somebody knows this in the meeting, is if they are having an e-bike which lets them go faster, are they supposed to be riding like a bicycle on the side of the road, or do they ride with traffic? Like right in the traffic?
It's all the rules that apply to a bicycle or apply to an e-bike. So if a bicycle is allowed to ride in the road, then I would imagine e-bike is as well. But certainly that wouldn't apply to like a Route 7 or.
Right, a road 30 miles or less. Right. So we're not talking Route 7 at all.
But there are a number of like e-bikes on Route
Oh,
7.
Well, that's the
both in the
point.
road and on the
That's the point.
sidewalk.
They're
Yeah.
already all over.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what I have seen, some of them, some e-bikes that take the entire road versus staying on the side. As a traditional bicyclist, I only take the entire road if I feel like I'm in jeopardy, and I'll do it briefly at an intersection, so I make sure everyone fully sees me, and then I go back over to the side of the road to not slow down traffic. But if they're able to go the same speed as a car, then yeah, they would be safer, I think, if they're just riding in the road. And I've seen both styles, so I was just, you know, it seems like both styles are then legal.
Yeah.
So the only time I've seen people being illegal is if they're just kind of like goofing around with them in Central Park.
Right. Right.
Or at Mohawk Commons. I have an electric car. So when there were 3 and they looked like they were younger than 16, but it doesn't mean they were. And they were 2 were single riders, 1 had 2 riders, and of course 1 was doing a wheelie. I was very aware of them because then they quickly went from where there were buildings to cut in front of me to go through the parking lot. I know they couldn't hear me. So I try to be more aware of them because they're having so much fun. I try not to be that elderly lady, but I'm very aware of how many e-bikes I encounter in town, as well as on Route 7. And I have seen some adults use e-scooters and e-bikes on Route 7. Again, it's where I live and I garden, so I'm outside a lot. It's a sidewalk. If we don't have a sign that says bicycles can't be on the sidewalk, then does that mean e-bikes have the same right of way as a bicycle? But I frequently see people without helmets of all ages. Christmas, I looked out, there were young kids there wasn't snow on the ground, so they were on people's lawns, on the sidewalk, off the sidewalk, no helmet. And I'm assuming brand new e-bikes for Christmas. So I think education is a huge piece, but it can't be a standalone, like the linkage study, right? You don't just do one thing. So if there can be a multi-pronged attack, I do know when there are minors hearing chiefs speak on it, there's not a lot of enforcement, although there are some steps that can be done.
Right, so I don't think we're a long way from giving recommendations to the town right now on any suggestions for how to they might.
The more we've dug into it, the more complex we see how it is. And so
Right.
we just have got more work to do before we can offer something sensible at this point.
Right.
In Europe, they're pretty progressive with that. They actually only allow class 1, right? Or is
In Europe, class
Yeah.
1, okay,
It's an article.
yeah.
And some states have become a little more strict down to extremely stringent. So I happen to read New Jersey state law, which is one of the more stringent. And I'm not suggesting we be the most stringent, but there are a lot of states and municipalities who are coming up with various local and state regs. First, let's know what they are, educate the public, enforce what can be enforced now, but then look at what's available, what's working for other communities, what's not working for other communities. Is the town's going to put down additional? But if we have the structure of the New York State regulation. So if that isn't being enforced, that's like a first step along with education.
Absolutely.
And I read some AARP information where, yes, we don't want to see the young population severely injured or the fatalities. But because it's so helpful for the older population who may not have been on a bicycle in years to get on an e-bike and easily be transported, AARP is now starting to see a higher incident rate with the aging population because they don't understand the speed, the weight, the potential, whether they wear helmets or not, whether it's mandated or not. So I just think an outreach to all levels of ages in the community.
5 minutes, okay. All right. We have 7 minutes left. So we just have a couple more items we want to go through quickly because we have limited time right now. The second topic is school zones in the town of Niskayuna. I know we talked about this in a previous meetings and we thought perhaps we should do an inventory and see what is happening in front of all of our schools right now in terms of signage, crosswalks, that type of thing, and whether or not there's deficiencies. I mentioned to Bill that there are New York State regs regarding posting of speed limits within a school zone too. So we should take that into consideration and maybe once we do the inventory, then make some recommendations as to what we should do in terms of making it safer in front of our schools in Niskayuna. So I think that's probably a little more tenable in terms of making recommendations. It's not a heavy lift to go out there and do that inventory.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I wanted to ask Laura, really the committee. Niskayuna Police Detective Ian Munger is a member of our committee who comes, from time to time. And I was wondering, would it make sense for us to see whether the chief would be okay if Detective Munger, we'd really want somebody to take a look at all of our schools. I mean, Glencliff and St. Caterina on Upper Union, all of the schools to see, well, what do we have now? And, you know, what's a possibility if we took a look at this? I mean, we've talked about Rosendale and Iroquois, that there isn't anything on Rosendale Road, but and I don't know whether there's one on Hillside. I should know if there's a school zone on Cornelius or not, but really we should ask someone, and maybe Detective Munger would be someone that would really say, okay, here's what you've got on Birchwood, here's what you've got on Cornelius, here's what you've got around Van Antwerp Middle School, and then, you know, what does the state law say, and what, you know, what would be a possibility for us to do? That if you did something around Hillside, I mean, if we don't, maybe we already have one on Cornelius, but would you need a
There
school
is one.
zone that would be on Nicholas and on Plum, that when you exit Hillside, you go out on those streets? Should those be, and a lot of kids exit that way, should it be 20, the school speed limit on both those streets? And, you know, so we'd really find out, well, what have we got now? And what might we do, I guess, so that when we start looking at recommendations or asking the town board to look at this issue, we know, we don't get surprised by saying, well, okay, you looked at these 3 schools, but you didn't look at these. And, you know, students there should be protected as much as anyone else in terms of a reduced speed limit. And obviously Balltown Road in front of Craig is a big problem, because you got a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit there, and it's state road. And so it's, you know, how do you do something there? So, but I mean, that was just my thought, that I asked Carla if she would attend police committee as a representative from Complete Streets, and there's a meeting on this coming Friday. And just to say that, you know, our board is interested in looking at school zones, and really, what do we have on our schools now, and, you know, what might we take a look at? So,
And, you know, they would have more information on, you know, conflicts that have happened between some of the pedestrians and cars in those areas too. So they know where the problem spots are. So that's a good meeting to have.
okay.
Yeah. Finally, let's just briefly go over Lock 7. You know, we've had a number of people from the community come and talk about the unsafe conditions for pedestrians and bicyclists on Lock 7 Road, which is very true. It's a very narrow road, and on either side, there's not much to work with. It's basically a swamp on one side, and housing, just there's hardly any shoulder there at all. So that was the major concern that they have, that you really can't walk there safely, and some of the vehicles are moving pretty quickly, especially around some of those sharper turns. And we were trying to come up with potential solutions to that. Now, Jim Levy suggested that we look at not a raised hump, but it was one that just dips down instead. And I thought that was an interesting concept. I had never heard of it before. So that's a possibility. Signage, improved signage.
Yeah, the police did put their speed measuring device out there, but he thinks that he should put it back out in spring, because he left it out there for quite a while and there was only 986 vehicles.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic on that road.
Boat traffic comes probably, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, I mean, I was talking to Bill about this, you know, on some driveways do this when they can't see traffic. If they're going into a road and they're coming from their driveway, sometimes they put those big mirrors out, you know, so just around that curve, maybe that would be helpful. So traffic could see if there's something on the other side. I don't know if they do that in Niskayuna anywhere.
I've definitely seen that. We could ask them.
I know. I was thinking about that. I have seen it too.
Does that fall on the property owner? Or is
You know,
that
I
something
don't
that
know.
municipalities do?
I know, because if you go to the Catskills, I mean, they have them when there's no house near them at all. I feel like they help you go around those hairpin turns sometimes.
I mean, you're like, all of a sudden you're being.
Right. I mean, you would only need it probably from the springtime right up to the end of fall, right? Maybe into November, because that's when most of the traffic is there. They're bringing their boats, they're going you know, to the Lock 7 area there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's it. And
Well, just as another footnote to that, the Lock 7 Road does go to Lock 7 Park, which is a town park. And we have had some other people, Rosendale Road and other places that, well, if you want to bike to get there, it would be nice to be able to bike safely down Lock 7 Road. And even the Jim Levy's, his transverse rumble strip or some speed dips or something that, you know, even if you had trucks pulling a boat or whatever, that you do have something that would slow traffic, maybe a rumble strip or a speed dip that would slow traffic. And then I think I like the idea of the mirror so that you can kind of see around the curve, which the residents of Lock 7 Road have said that people go fast. And, you know, even painting the bicycles, I mean, we certainly could do that as a road that please expect some pedestrian and bike traffic, painting those on the road all the way to get down to the bike path. And if you can use the bike path to get access to Lock 7 Park, but, you know, using this road to get down there. And so I mean, the residents have all been pretty uniform about saying their speed and it's a hazardous road to be on. So it's worth taking a look at. And so I think kind of doing a bit more research and also just asking the town attorney is the recommendation that Ben, you know, is placed on whether any bike path on the side of the road, whether that would be legal or not. You know, we should get an opinion on that. But, I think we want to look at it carefully, do something if we can, but, you know, to understand it's certainly a concern for the people who live on Lock 7 Road, but also drivers like you, Catherine, that are going there to get access to the park. It is the one road getting in. So I think it is important to take a look at. So,
okay,
thank you.
great. Well, I guess that's the end. Let's, I'm going to motion to adjourn the February 2nd meeting. Anyone wants to second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Just have a quick question. On the notes, it says that the next meeting's on the 24th. That's a Tuesday. Is that right? Or is it really
no,
Monday, the
that's not
23rd?
It must
the
be
23rd.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, it's a Monday.
Okay.
23rd.
Thank you,
Then I
Jess.
make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you.
Still seconding.
Oh, yeah,
All
we,
in favor?
we did already. It's already done. We adjourned.
Oh, okay. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank
Thanks for hosting and sharing. Bye.